All right. Good morning, gang. Well, I am so excited to introduce to you this morning our guest, a man that I have known coming up on a decade, which is crazy. I can't believe that the time has gone by that quickly. But he has played a pivotal role in the journey that George and I have been on in the last decade. Now I'll let him tell a little bit about that and how we first met. But I want to at least just get him into the conversation. So without delaying any further, let me welcome Joe Villaescusa to the conversation, and I'll let you know a little bit about him. But good morning, Joseph.
Hey, John. Good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic. Good to see you.
Nice seeing you.
You not unusually. You're up and early in the office. I can see.
Yep. Usually not at this time, but I'm doing it just for you guys. I usually get here about 7:30. So.
All right. Very cool. So remind me. I think that. Well, let me first of all. You're from California originally, born and raised. You born in Lakewood. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay. And you went to Artesia High School, which is in Lakewood as well, right?
Lakewood as well.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Graduated in '81. You have a bachelor's of science in what? What did you?
Business.
Business.
Yeah.
That is not. It's not surprising. So just I want to fill in some of the blanks. I don't expect you to pay yourself accolades, although you should be very proud of what you've accomplished. Your office, which is located, is it in Pico? Is that where you are? Or?
Yeah, we're in Pico Rivera. We're just outside Long Beach for those of you guys in Utah that don't know the geographics around here, but yeah.
Okay. So your office there, it's what I think you refer to and what we refer to as a mega office. How many agents do you have in that location?
We're just over 300. It's about 45 to 50,000 square feet. Similar to yours. I think you guys are a little bit larger though.
The main office in Utah has about 325 agents, so it's about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've really kind of modeled that after what you've accomplished. So, I mean, it's been very effective for you. You have an office of over 300 agents who have, for many years, been in the top rankings in the Century 21 system. In fact, your office there has been ranked multiple times, whether as #1 in the United States or the world many times, right?
Yeah, well, it's not as many as you guys right now. I've had more if it wasn't for you guys, but yeah.
Well, that's been a fun competition. It reminds me, you say that, it reminds me of the conversation. You were so kind almost a decade ago when George and I were getting into the Century 21 system to invite us out to take a look at your operation. And guys and gals, I have to tell you something. Joe has an amazing office, but what's more amazing than the physical plant, that physical space that he has, is the way in which it's operated. I know that it's very clear, Joe, the way you operate, that systems and strategies are very important to create the predictability and duplication of outcome that you get.
Yep.
Highly, highly organized. It's a phenomenal operation that you have. But I remember, I think it was the second time we met. It was at a Mike Ferry event in Vegas.
Yep.
And we were sitting around a dinner, I believe, and I don't remember which casino hotel we were in, but you and George were having a conversation, and George had promised, I think half jokingly, but half serious about, taking the #1 position from you. And the interesting thing is that you were kind enough to still buy our dinner despite his disrespect in that conversation.
Yeah, it was actually a lunchtime.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, just to set the table, we had a big group of C21 All-Star agents there, and you and George were there, and obviously we were poking fun at each other, and he was doing his numbers right at the table. I'm like, hey, dude, come on, participate. We're all here together. And he just, he kind of woke up, like most of George said, hey, I'm going to beat you. I'm like, yeah. I said, dude, see these people here? They're gonna beat you up. don't do that here.
Crowd.
Yeah, wrong crowd. Yeah, but you guys are just lovely guys. Obviously, when I met you, at the Mike Ferry retreat, I said, hey, we got to get these two guys into C21 because I think you were flirting with the idea of going to another brand. I don't know if it was DRA or whatever it was. So, but yeah, it's been a good 10 years and obviously a lot of fun memories. And if anybody's going to beat us, I'd rather it be you guys than anybody else because you're just two class guys. Yeah.
You're very kind. And you have been so kind and generous over the years and just helping us and mentoring us.
And just one more story. So when you guys beat me for the first year, do you know that George, you guys all know this, called my house on my cell phone at 5:45 in the morning and left a 2-minute message. I'm like, you couldn't have to spoil my day later in the afternoon. You had to be in the morning.
Yeah,
But,
no. Well, and I think you responded that day with that video that you and some of your agents put together.
yeah.
And I don't even remember what movie it was from, but it was basically dubbed with a different script than what was in the movie, but it had to do with your response supposedly to our taking the #1 position. So the point is that you, I mean, not only do you have a great sense of humor, but you are a person of a great contribution. You've spent a lot of time on a hospital board in Whittier. You do a lot for Habitat for Humanity, Toys for Tots, Easter Seals, and the list goes on and on. So
you read my bio, haven't you?
I have. Well, yes,
It's right there.
Yeah, I might
Well,
know
hey,
more
well,
about
let's
you than
talk.
you
Let's
do.
talk about you and your agents and stuff, and figure out how we can do this better.
We're going to get to that, but I want them to have. I want to have them some context about who you are, because I think that's important, because we're going to get into philosophies and principles and so forth. But I think it's important that they know that you're the real deal, that you're genuine. Yeah. So we had a mutual mentor, Dave Kellerman. He of course was a mentor of yours, and I want to talk a little bit about him because I know the importance of that relationship. But you're very successful. I mean, I don't expect you to say it, but you've made yourself a multimillionaire many times over. You do exceptionally well. Is that because you were born into privilege? What's that all about, Joe V?
No. I grew up probably like everybody else. Mom and dad. Mom stayed at home. Dad worked. Had one car in the household. When we went from renting to buying, I remember that conversation with the realtor. The payments were $316 a month back then, and I remember that was a struggle. You laugh at it today because our light bills are more than that, but no privilege whatsoever, I think, and that's a blessing sometimes because you had to work at everything you had. So, buying my first car was made, going to college, it was made, part-time jobs, full-time jobs, and things like that. So really had to scrape to get by. So it's, looking back, it's completely different than it is today for my kids, but I think it's one of the, the stepping stones that we all have to go through to get to where we want to be.
So just tell us, if you would, what year did you get into real estate, and kind of give us your story? Because what I want to do is kind of dissect that and talk about the principles and philosophies that you've used, that you've leveraged for your own success, but also for your agents and those you coach and mentor.
Yeah, right out of college, I met a broker's wife. Her name was Sharon Lapeter, and Al, he was a great broker. He was a tough broker, and met him the next day at 7 a.m. in the morning, like now. Had about a 20-minute conversation. He agreed to hire me, but said, "Be at the office tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. and get ready to start." So next day, I got a pack of flyers, some script cards. Went through a script every once in a while with him. Had some business cards made up. When you put your name on the blank business cards. I went out there door knocking. So, I was fortunate to have a lucky day, and that's what it was. I was just in the right place at the right time. About 4 hours into door knocking, I found a buyer who bought the broker's listing, and I also listed that property that day. So I started off on a real good day, but what I learned, and I even know about commission splits and what you get paid, I was told to go door knock this area, and that's what I did for that first year. So I door knocked every single day, Monday through Sunday. It was usually about 2 to 4 hours a day, every single day. And that year, I ended up with just under 100 sales, 99 sales my first year. So average sales price was $85,000. So I made $323,000 my first year.
What year was that? 88?
86.
86. Holy cow. So you sold over 100 homes.
99.
You made over 99. And you made over $300,000 in 1986.
Yep.
That's a lot of money now, but that was a ton of money back then.
Yeah, it was. It really was. And, I contribute most of that, obviously, to, I grew up with coaches because I was in athletics the entire time. So I used to wrestle and kickbox at a very high level. So I knew of screaming coaches at you and having people yell at you and things like that. And this broker was no different. And, he was a great mentor. He was my very first one in the business world. And we would meet like this every single day. He'd wind me up and say, go out there and do what your job is. So I went out there, and after my first year, then he was going to retire because he was that age. And then I got involved with C21.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. So let's bring David Kellerman into the conversation, because I know he was a very, very important man in your life.
Yeah.
Just when did you meet him? And just kind of distill for everybody, just what was the main thing or the concepts that he taught you? Because I know he had a very big impact on your life.
He did, and Dave's no longer with us. But you know, David was the first person I met at C20. You know, and he was that guy you would go in and you'd have to fill out an application, and he's the one that interviewed you. So David had this real spiritual personality where he would really confront you. And you know, his first thing after looking at my resume, an application, he looked at me. He said, "You made it through college?" And I'm like, "Really?"
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is quintessential David Kellerman.
Yeah, and that's in it. If you know him, you know exactly that's how he is. And the guy put his arms around me the rest of my career, and really guided me to do the things I needed to do. So, you know, his goal and my goal obviously is to become number one in our city, the number one in our region, the number one in Western California, then obviously going all the way to the country and the world. So we did all those things. And one of the nice things that I got to do with David before his passing was got to bring him on stage when we were number one and have him present me that trophy versus the president. So I got that permission. So
Yeah,
that was one of the highlights of both our lives, and just a full circle of what dedication and work will do for you.
So I just want to tell a quick story about that, and then I want to get into a principle here that you've really talked about that I think is important for everybody to hear. I don't know how many sessions we were into our coaching relationship, mentor relationship with David Kellerman, but I remember not the specific idea that we were talking about, but George and I kind of questioned David on his point, and maybe not the validity of it, but we were questioning. And at one point, David obviously got frustrated that we were, instead of just accepting it and moving on, he looked at both of us. It was I think we were FaceTiming, and he just said, you know what, you guys, you don't need me. You got this all figured out. I mean, he was that sort of a guy. It's just that, you know, he was willing to confront people and say what needed to be said in the moment. And to your point. So I guess my question is, whether a high performing athlete or a high performing agent or a high performing broker, talk about the importance of your willingness to be coached and to be confronted in your behavior and the things that you're doing.
Yeah, great question. You know, my conversation with David was every single morning when I came to work. So I was on the phone with him. If I was 1 minute late, we would have to start the conversation over. So it was every single day. So sometimes he would hang up on me, I'd hang up with him. Sometimes the conversation was really good, but there was always a challenge there. So there were some days that I just didn't like the guy. I mean, I just think he was too old, he was this, he was that. But the one thing he did is he cared 100%. So I'm very fortunate, and hopefully we all get that person in our lives, that there's someone looking over our shoulder to help push us and guide us to where we want to be eventually. Because doing it on our own, even with me being, I think, super disciplined, I still need that voice in my ear every single day, you know, and I miss it today, that, you know, that guidance of where we want to be eventually. Because doing this at a high level, you know, it's a struggle every single day. Because like today, you and I, we got up, you know, there's 57 of us on this talk right now. And there's probably thousands of realtors still in bed right now because they just don't have that guiding light or that direction. So being in the right environment is absolutely critical to your success.
So when you talk about the right environment, what do you think an agent should be doing? I mean, the world right now is very crazy. We've got the COVID itself, but then we've got the financial impact that it's having. And then, of course, what's happening in the real estate market, which is interesting, the way, you know, the market's responding. But talk about what an agent should be doing to navigate this, more from a mental standpoint, because I think our biggest challenge right now has nothing to do with the market, has nothing to do with the pandemic, but it has everything to do with what's going on here. So what are you saying to people? Anything new in terms of what they can do to stay on top of this mentally and emotionally?
You know, eventually, you know, the start of the question is being in the right environment and asking the right questions, because today in real estate, there are so many false believers out there and things, and, you know, people over promising to underdeliver, and they really soak up your time and energy. So you want to be at the right place. So obviously, if I were a realtor, I'd be at your place. There's absolutely no doubt, because I'm going to find out who the number one people are, and I want to be around them. That's the first thing. The second thing, regarding the pandemic, I think that we have to work our way through that. Obviously, we have to work within the framework of what's permissible. But I think you know, there's some certain amount of agents out there that are just kind of waiting for things to go back to the way they were. And like your company, we have very successful realtors right now. They are more successful right now than they were prior to this.
Right. Isn't
And
that interesting?
it is. And I just think what happened, and I think what happens is that when they feel their backs up against the wall, they're actually able to challenge themselves. Then we have other agents, and God bless them. And, you know, some of my top agents said, hey, listen, I'm going to take time off and spend it with my family and go on extended vacations. I have the resources, I can do that. I'd say, hey, good for you. And then you got those other folks that are just kind of waiting for something new to happen. They're watching the news too much. I mean, they're just inundated with what's going on. So, you know, unfortunately, I contracted the virus, and on a severe level. So I was out for a
Oh,
month and a half.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for a month and a half, I was out of it. So didn't know I'd be on these calls again, to be honest with you. But
Oh, wow.
you know, so I know all about that. But you know, got to get right back into it and live your life to the best you possibly can, because this is probably real estate, the last frontier that you can really, as an entrepreneur, go out and really do something on a large scale with a high school education with no money in your pocket. So,
Yeah, the opportunity we have is crazy.
yeah.
You know, you were talking about, you know, people not necessarily having focus or the drive to push and move forward,
Mhm.
even though ostensibly people's backs are against the wall. It's interesting how different people respond. I was having a conversation with my daughter. It was probably 2 months ago. And, you know, she had, like many, had lost her job as a result of COVID, and she was receiving unemployment. And Utah didn't necessarily respond to the pandemic the way we have here in California, a little bit looser, not as strict in terms of the quarantine and so forth. And things started to thaw and loosen up a bit. And I asked her, I said, are you going to go back to work? And she said, well, right now I'm making more money with unemployment than I was before I was working, so probably not. And as you might imagine, I didn't respond well to that statement. I said, what are you talking about? I said, what about your sense of self-respect and about just, quite frankly, the need of other people to use that money where their situation's worse than yours? I said, you have a responsibility to make sure that you're going back to work for all sorts of reasons, including just simply self-respect. And it's so interesting to see how people respond differently. What do you think that's about? Do you think that that's more about nature? Do you think that's nurturing? Because, you know, you've dealt with thousands of agents over your career, and you've seen several who have succeeded beyond, you know, crazy, wild imaginations. And at the same time, you know this more than anybody, real estate is a revolving door. So many people get in and so many people get out. Why is that? Why is that the case for most people?
Well, it's easy entrance, so I think it's easy to get into real estate. But back to that initial question, and we were talking about this, that there are some people, they lose their compass, they lose their north, they lose, you know, when you say we have realtors that, you know, they get unemployment and they become unmotivated. And what we did as a company, and I suggest maybe you reach out and do the same, because George and I were talking about this, is that we invited 2 weeks ago the most powerful women in real estate to be on these Zoom meetings. Rodriguez, Vicky Montego in Washington, a girl named Nahid down here, Karen Bernardi. So all week long, we got to listen to that, and you can't get off that call and not be inspired. So it's figuring out how to inspire yourself every single day, regardless of the new stuff. So, you know, I listen to the news probably 10 minutes a day, and I get off it just to kind of see what's going on and get right back into the rhythm of doing things. So you and I, what we have to do is we have to lead by, you know, they have to see us out there. So every single day they see me on a video, what time I'm coming to work. So today I got here a little bit earlier. I left the house at 6 o'clock, 5:45. And most people, you know, they're waking up saying, are you really in the car? They thought it was a video. I said, no, I'm really excited. I get to talk to this group today. I want to see how many shows. It excited me to be here. I said, listen, this is really good. And I get to teach you guys at 9 o'clock. It's going to be a great Tuesday. So on the 18th, so I'm like, hey, this is really good. Get up and do what you got to do every single day. But, you know, getting back to that goal, I think that we have to write on a piece of paper, what is it that we want out of life? Where do we want to live by choice, not by, you know, what we can afford? Where do we want to live, and have that picture and have that down payment, monthly payment? How much do I need every single month to be able to swing this? And you'll find that it's not very much more than what you're doing today. You know, so there's some folks out there, you know, when you talk about your daughter, I talk about my son sometimes. He has a real estate license, and he got off track. So as parents, you got to say, okay, how far do I let him go until I bring him back? So it was him on his own when he was out, you know, drinking with his friends. He finally woke up saying, listen, what am I doing? So he's back here today working every single day. So, you just don't know what to do with certain people, but you got to keep putting your arms around them, keep reaching out for them to find out, hey, is this something you really don't want to do? And, and do it every day.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Consistency.
It is. It's every single day. So, like my wife, she got up and she's very supportive. And, all my stuff's ready, my food's ready, everything's ready. So she gets up earlier today and she's excited. She said, "You're really looking forward to this." I said, "Oh, I am. This is really good." I said, I kind of get to be interviewed versus interviewing people.
Yeah, and it is different and it is fun. Well, so 99 homes in a year as a rookie, most people would say that's not possible. If you hadn't said that that's what you've done, and I had just asked the question, is it possible for a rookie to sell 100 homes, make over 300,000 in 1986? I think the majority of people, vast majority would say, well, no, that's not possible. It's not realistic, at least. It's not realistic. How did you do that? Break that down. What were the things that you would say that because I behaved this way, that I did these things, that I believed in these principles or these philosophies, that is why I was able to accomplish that. And if you'll do that, you can do the same thing.
Well, first thing is there wasn't as much communication out there. There wasn't much distractions out there. Today, realtors, you have more distraction than ever in your life. You're being, propositioned left to right, and all the stuff's coming at you. Just like the news, you got to turn it off. So, I didn't have that. I didn't know that. Well, back then, I think there were more agents doing more transactions back then there is today. Single agents doing what they're doing. I think that with teams and assistants and hocus pocus and all those different way of how we count, yes, you can go out there every single day. Now, will it be hard? Yes, it's hard at first because you're entering a market that there's some established people there, but every single day, this is my job. And, my parents, I saw my dad go to work every single day. So this is the job. So 2 to 4 hours a day is not that much prospecting. So what happens, you start getting people to say, yes, I want to list my home with you because of your sheer energy or whatever it may be. And then pretty soon this thing starts happening. It's called momentum. And you start building momentum where people starting to want to call you. And what happens, you pop out of bed because your momentum and your enthusiasm is so high and you have a job to do. Now, remember along the way, I'm trying to learn what I'm doing. FHA loans, VA loans, conventional loans, escrow, title. I'm trying to make sense of all this stuff. But, back then I had an assistant, the broker's assistant, who did our files together. So here's how he taught me. Once we sell the house, Joe, shake the seller, shake the buyer's hand and say, if I talk to you again prior to closing, like a doctor, it's probably not going to be good news. So you don't want to hear from me. So this is my assistant. She's going to do your job and go do it again all over. Don't get caught up being the transaction coordinator or the listing person. Don't be that person.
So know what your job is and do your job.
Yeah, so it was very easy. My job was simple. Just go out there and door knock every single day, every single day, every single day. And the hardest thing is every once in a while was...
Well, hold on a second. Is it that simple? I mean, because I hear you say that and you make it sound simple. And yet there are a lot of agents who are watching, some who aren't, who need to be.
Yeah.
And they would say, well, wait a minute, it can't be that simple. And the answer is what?
It really is, because it's like the gym. When you go to the gym every single day, you start to see compounded results every single day and things just start to work. Same thing in real estate. You get these compounded results and you understand what your job is. So I learned early on that, I can't take people with me because one, they won't show up on time. Number two, they'll tap out way before I will. They'll be that person that says, hey, listen, let's stop and let's go get something to drink. Let's go something to eat. So it's that every single day. So going back, it's that, why do you wake up every single day to do this work? And it wasn't hard work. It's just showing up everything. The hardest part was shaking the gate to make sure there wasn't a pit bull there. That was the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the pit bulls don't get up right away. They know realtors.
That's right.
They'll sneak up on you. They're waiting on you.
Yep.
So yeah, but here's the thing. You got to find joy in what you do, because, giving keys or giving somebody the enthusiasm that, hey, maybe not today, maybe in 6 months from now, once you fix your credit, down payment or whatever it may be, you're going to be able to get into home ownership. So I'll take you back to a story how easy it was that, this is probably 10 years into my career as being a broker, that a lot of the realtors here at All-Star said, listen, back then it was probably easier. The market was better. People were just giving you deals, things like that. So John, my wife, Sandra.
Of course. Yeah.
So I'll tell you about Sandra.
Amazing, beautiful lady.
Yeah. Beautiful, absolutely stunning woman. And, when I said, listen, I'm going to send my wife, Sandra, you all have to hear this out, and I'm going to give her a card of what she's going to say. And I'm going to send her to the hardest part in the city. That area where people don't like to door knock, probably the most, affordable area. Okay, where people don't like to go all the time. She went there, which is Spanish speaking area. Now, how many homes in 1 month do you think that she sold? Now, her month was between 10 o'clock and 1:30. because we have kids that she had to take to school and pick up. So 10 o'clock to 1:30, and her only motivation was one thing. It was the only one thing. She got to dress up. She said, Joe,
Oh
I get to
yeah, very
dress up.
cool.
That's my motivation. I get to wear my clothes. I don't have to wear sweats all the time. So in 1 month, I'll tell you, there it is. That's how many listings and sales.
She
8.
did 8.
8.
Crazy.
No real estate license. The only information she has is the things that she's heard from me. Now, here's what she said, Joe, there are people out there that want your help. They want your help. And I said, well, you didn't know even what to do. What did you say to him? She said, I told him what to tell you. Bring him in to see you. Now, sometimes it was like to see Darth Vader after seeing her.
She had a great script.
Yeah, so it's, that's how it was. So, without Sandra, those 8 people listening and selling homes, that wouldn't have happened. So then we put her on a panel in front of people, and here was some of the questions. Why do you get up if you don't have to? If you have all this, why get up?
Yeah.
Okay? What motivated you? And it was her clothes. Didn't you feel weird being in this area? She goes, listen, any of you that know Los Angeles, my wife, she grew up in Watts, which is probably the worst of the worst areas. She said, this isn't that bad compared to where I've come from. Okay, so she said, what you have to learn is that, hey, these folks really want our help. These first generations Hispanics that come from another country, they really need to know the information. So that's how simple it can be.
And you make it sound simple, and yet we know that from a mindset standpoint, it can be very, very difficult. So what do you do? Because you have a lot of stress. You're running a very large companies. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of people relying upon you, a lot of expectations, a lot of people targeting you because, you're number one in your market. When you're successful, you have a target. So how is it that you maintain an attitude that allows you to continue to do what you're doing at the level you're doing it?
I think it's just a habit after a while. This is our job. This is what we do. Obviously, when we had, I was building a house at the beginning of this year. I've been building a house for 3 years. It finally finished. So, it was, I've been gone a lot for that. And then the pandemic happened. So we were closed down for 2 months. And then I got sick for a month and a half. So really, I've only been to the office for 2 months this year. So looking back, I really miss this place. So I miss doing what we do every single day, touching the lives we do, hiring brand new people from other companies that come here with enthusiasm that gives me energy because they're like, hey, this is the best place. And I'm like, looking around and say, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? So, so it's feeding off other people's energies. And when you can get that synergy working, which you guys have done very well, get that synergy working where everybody's working together. Everybody works together, that everybody succeeds at the same high level, regardless of individual performance. So, it's doing on a consistent level, showing up. I mean, you guys right now have 58 people here. Typically we have about the same, anywhere, getting people up and ready every single day, understanding that, hey, this is the life and you can't replace it with something else later on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult. We can help people discover their motivation, but it's tough to motivate people every day. So what do you do to stay motivated? Because you live in a very, very nice house. You have multiple homes. You have nice things, beautiful wife. You've got 4 kids. You don't have to show up and money's going to come in. What do you do?
7 dogs. 7 dogs.
How many dogs?
7. And they're big ones.
Really? I did not know that. Well, his life isn't complicated enough. Add 7 dogs to the mix.
Someone has to clean that up every day too.
Yeah. So what causes you to get up every day when you have what seemingly most people would say you have everything? Because, we see it every day, agents who will get a certain amount of business and then they stop doing what it took to get there. And then they ride on their laurels, they rest on their laurels, and they spend the money that they have. And then they go back to being broke again. And then they furiously try to get back to where they were. And then they go through that roller coaster over and over again. How do you maintain that high level of performance year after year for decades the way you have?
Yeah. First thing is how you go to bed every night. One thing I do is with this computer, my wife and I, we watch videos, funny videos at night before we go to bed.
Yeah.
And she's gotten used to Joe being up at 4:30, turning the TV on, putting the radio on, and I'm loud in the morning. So now she's used to being up. So that's the first thing, going to bed on time and getting up on time. That's the first thing. As for, getting the listing, getting a sale, closing it and kind of taking off, we just don't have big enough goals. And I think that, John, that's your and I job, that we be able to expand their horizons about what they're looking to achieve in life. So one thing that I did, I'm really proud of, we had a a person here who came out of state prison. You heard it right, state prison. He had been there for over 10 years, and he was fortunate enough to get a license, and some judge in our DRE here was able to get him a license. So he's a fantastic person, grew up in the wrong circumstances, probably had the wrong parents, and the opportunities he had in front of us are just great. So, he's doing phenomenally well. And we took him out to our area, he and his girlfriend, and she sat there, and after seeing where we lived and drove around, she said, we're going to live here. So believe it or not, he bought a house out there by me. That was his
Did he
goal.
really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And to see the stuff he's done. And I said, you know what, you owe it to the judge to go back there and say, thank you for putting me in prison. Because if it wasn't for him, you would probably be dead about the choices you had in your life. And to see what you've done now, he's gone to high schools and talked to kids. I know some of his clients reach out to him when they have kids that are, getting off that right track, and he'll talk to them, because here's a guy who spent time in solitary confinement, and he knows the difference. And it's kind of like watching this person live out his dreams, and they are dreams to him. So, he's building right now a 20-unit complex. So you just sit back and say, wow, look at somebody do.
Isn't that crazy?
It absolutely is. And I just think, where does this guy get this from? Did he think about this while he was incarcerated the whole time and couldn't wait to get out? Because you got to think, when he got out, he probably had everything going against him. I'm not going to get my license. I'm not going to get my license. I'm not going to get my license. And he overcome all those mental roadblocks to do the things. Hey, Richard, do the things today. Hey, look who I got here, Richard.
Richard.
Look at that. Who's this?
Good morning, young man. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Say good morning to one of the greatest gatherings of real estate agents the world's ever known, Century 21 Everest.
Hey, look, this is me.
So, Richard, you're just so everybody knows, you're the right-hand man to Joe V, and one of the very important reasons why his companies are successful. So,
Right-hand man, whatever he needs. That's it.
That's cool. Good morning.
I do it.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I haven't
Good
seen
to
you in
see
a
you,
while.
John. Haven't seen you in a while. So, George, is he going to be on one of our meetings?
He did his last week.
Oh, he was on last week?
George.
No, I know George was last week.
Yeah, we're
but
John.
Are you
Yeah,
gonna-
we're
I'm here anytime. Happy to do it.
This guy's he's the one that does it all for that company.
Dude, Richard, you and I need to spend more time together. I like this.
Forget George. You're the one.
Yeah. Joe, just change the angle of the camera. Let's just focus on Richard here for a second.
and you can send it to me later, okay?
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. $100 just like we discussed. See you. Good man. It's good to see him. So, now I'm like a freight train. You get me off track. I don't know where the heck I was. Hard to get back on track. But, it's interesting to see how people respond differently to circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know if it's nature or nurture, but the fact is that we can take a higher degree of responsibility to do the things necessary to elevate our focus, our motivation, our skill sets. In fact, let me ask you about that. When I say skill sets, what do you think is the number one skill set that an agent should be focused on to be more successful in the business?
Show up. You got to show up. You got to show up. I mean, that's where I see most agents fail, is that, they don't show up consistently. They don't show up on time, and they're playing catch up all the time. So it's kind of like you're in your car, you're running late, there's traffic, you got to go to the restroom. Everything compoundedly is going against you. So if we can show up on time all the time, you have a pretty good chance at doing things. So if you can show up on time, then, hey, you're going to engage in some type of skill training. You're going to see people doing it. You're going to want to do it. You're going to want to do things, but you got to show up every single day. You got to show up at the same time. So here's what I tell my agents. Hey, it's okay if you come in at 10, but it's got to be 10 every single day. So if you have a customer, they can only do it at 8. You can't do it at 8. You got to say, I start my day at 10.
Right.
So don't cheat yourself. So we got to get to the time. We got to be there. Like Richard, I already know what time it is.
Yeah.
So I did my
He's
video.
consistent. Same time every day.
Yeah, same thing. So if Richard wasn't here, hey, there's something wrong. So it's you got to show up. So there's a lot of components to, I think, of being successful. We have to be comfortable in our own skin. We have to know the scripts and dollars. When you guys started doing the affirmations, I think that's great. I think I do them, but they're by myself in the morning. I mean,
I see.
I mean, they're I have a bunch of gratitude just being alive and breathing right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So there are several things here. I just want to, because I want to make certain that people walk away with the nuggets that you have handed them this morning. I'm just going to go through these very quickly, and then I want to ask you maybe just one or two other questions, and we'll wrap it up. The time has gone by so very fast. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. So I wrote down one of the important things is mindset. And you said one of the most important things that we could do to maintain mindset is going to be association, the people we spend our time with, the environment that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
You said that our focus, the things that we focus on every day will affect our mindset. So be careful about what we focus on.
Mm-hmm.
You also talked about what we watch, the things that we put into our mind visually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whether it's watching some sort of motivational video or some instructional video. You also said eliminate distractions. Kind of goes back to what you said, like maintain a schedule and stay
Mm-hmm.
consistent with that schedule, but eliminate distractions, which then leads to momentum if you're consistent, and then you end up with greater results. You didn't use this particular word, but you basically said, man, you got to be patient with the process,
Mm-hmm.
because you kind of used the gym example that the first day you show up, you're not going to get results. It's going to take time after time after time, but you start to see incrementally that compound effect that you start to get those results that you've been working towards for months, literally.
Yeah.
And then I wrote down here, motivation. You have to have some reason to show up every day. And if you don't, it's going to be difficult to show up.
Mm-hmm.
That's exceptionally important. And then the last thing that I wrote down here is know what you're going to be doing every day. You said for you, it was door knocking. So what with the pandemic going on, this is one of the last two questions I want to ask you. With the pandemic going on, and in LA County specifically, and even in Ventura, and I'm assuming it's the same in Utah, that the door knocking is not allowed. You can't knock on somebody's door and have a conversation with them. So what are you telling agents to do to get in front of people, to find leads, to mature leads, to get transactions?
Well, down here in California, you know, Los Angeles, they are starting to get back into door knocking. So, you know, knock, say distance, things like that. So that is allowed. That has never not been allowed from what my understanding is. So regardless, not to change anybody's mind about that, but, you know, it's finding different ways. So if it's not door knocking, if you're not comfortable with that, find other means to do it. There's telephone numbers. We have to meet the people out there because they're not going to be coming to us. So we're going to have to be resourceful. So, you know, we have to control our own economy, but at the same time, we have to find out how do we reach out to see these people. So we are back to that. We're showing properties. I mean, we had 180 offers on one property we had here recently. It went $250,000 higher than it was listed for. $250,000.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. And I just say, John, I tell this to everybody. I said, listen, if I were a realtor today, I got to be honest with you, what I would do, I would let every single homeowner in that area know 157 offers, $250,000 more than we listed it for. This is an opportune time, and with the low interest rates, if you've ever thought about selling your home, this may be the right moment. Let's have a discussion. See, the one thing I'm not going to be guilty of, that nobody knows who I am and about that property. So I'm going to leverage that property and pivot from it, and I'm going to build my success right from that one property. No money in my pocket, just enthusiasm every single day to build my company to where it needs to be, one deal at a time. Because that's motivation right there.
Yeah, well, if you can't be motivated by that, I don't know what will motivate you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I hear you saying is that, just boiling this down very simply, consistently prospect, show up at the same time every day, and consistently prospect, just talk to people. And if you'll do that, everything else will work out.
You'll get consistent results.
Yeah,
you will. I mean, you will get lucky if you're not talented. If you can, with the luck, get talent behind that and some type of confidence in what you do, you will find out that your services are needed on a very high level. So I had to do it in Hispanic area, and gang, I speak no Spanish whatsoever. Okay, so you know, I had to overcome that. Hey, I'm that coconut guy that grew up in an Anglo area where I didn't get to speak Spanish, so I was at a deficit. So you know, I had to overcome that issue. So because when you look at me, you think that I would speak Spanish. So every single day. So here's the thing: if nothing else, try it for a month and see what happens. It's like going to the gym. Go to the gym for 2 hours, an hour a day, every single day. Eat healthy and see what happens. John, you know what's going to happen. You're going to see results.
You're going to get the results.
Yeah, you are. And it's sometimes we've been void of that positive result in our life because of what we do every single day. And sometimes we just have to nourish ourselves, saying, hey, we're good enough the way we are, but we can get better if we allow ourselves to be in this opportune time. So I think in this pandemic, you can be a great agent. I see great agents behind me all the time now. I mean, agents that came out of nowhere at this company, nowhere. And I'm just thinking, what happened to you? did you drink the Kool-Aid or what? Because they're having their best year ever. We have a person here that I think they sold 3 homes last year, and they're already up to like 18.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, what
I
happened?
love it when you see that it clicks for people and they just change. They revolutionize their outcomes in their life as a result of that.
And they inspire so many of us, including me.
Dude.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
really do.
it's fun to see where people have come from some very difficult backgrounds. They've had a lot of hardship, and they turn it around. It's very inspiring. Like your agent who spent time in the penitentiary. So, one final question: whether it's David Kellerman or any other mentor that you've had, your first mentor, what's the one thing that you want people to walk away from saying, Joe Villaescusa taught me this? What do you want to be known for? What's that thing that you want people to say, yeah, I learned that from Joe Villaescusa? What is it?
I think that he cared, but expected more out of myself, out of you. Because I think that we live an average life or a very safe life, and we don't want to, cause a ruckus or be noisy or have the spotlight on us and things like that. And sometimes it's okay to be that way for yourself, to put your shoulders and stand tall and say, hey, listen, I can be that guy or girl every single day, regardless of how I grew up, regardless of my current situation, regardless of my failures in the past. I can be that person starting today if you really choose to. So, you and I, we provide environments for people to act out in a positive way like that in business. So that's what we do at a super high level. So the more that you're like that, the more encouragement that you have from one another to one another, it's going to be a lot easier on your process. So, every single day, just say, hey, listen, write it down. Say, today's a great day. It's going to be better than yesterday. Every single day. And like I said, in 30 days, just get a box and through 30 days, just give yourself 30 days. And after 30 days, you can quit if it doesn't work. See, you and I know it will work.
It will work.
It will work.
But they have to be consistent. They have
Yes.
to do it consistently.
Yeah, because something's going to throw them off track. Something like this. Hey, let's go to lunch.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Oh my Lord.
Or I just don't feel like it today. I didn't, I got a headache.
Yeah, today I was not feeling 100% to do this. I was like, okay, man, George, you got me up at 7 a.m. This is cool. I get to see this company. Is Lindsay still with you guys?
She is, yeah. In fact, I saw that she commented in the chat line. She said it's not about a lack of resources. It's about focus and just making certain that you're consistent, leveraging the principle. So yeah, she's here.
Yeah, well, there's one girl that really cares about you guys and your company and all the agents there, because I get to talk to her about how she views every one of the agents there. So you're very lucky to have a girl.
We're very fortunate. Well, she's one of those great examples.
Did she ever get married?
What's that?
Did she ever get married?
Nope, she's single.
Oh, she told me she was getting married.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Well, she's going to eventually, but she's single right now.
We're going to have to prospect for her. She's been on her own too long prospecting.
She's a great example. Somebody who joined us as a receptionist, and she's now the director of recruiting, and she recruits consistently 75 people every year. She's just, very inspiring.
Yeah, she's a good person.
Yeah. Well, Joe, it has been such a great pleasure to spend some time with you. It's been too long that we've been able to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation. So it's been fun. I'm glad that you're doing well. I did not know that you were sick, but man, you look healthy, you look happy. And so you deserve both of those things. Tell Sandra that I said hi, and God bless your 4 kids, and just, man, keep up the fight, keep inspiring people, and go out there and continue to make a difference, because you do.
All right, Utah. Nice hearing you guys.
Okay, thanks.